It is time to combine two of my favourite things. Doors and combination locks. The pair of those things matched up together inside one contraption. One contraption that contains both a door and a combination lock inside the same space. This is going to be interesting. And for anyone who's been around for a really long time, it might sound a little bit familiar. Because all the way back in 2012, so nearly 8 years ago now, I came up with this system right here, which as you can see, I was quite proud of. I call it my favourite creation. And the idea was that you had a colour combination lock that was actually a door as well. So if you got the combination right, the actual combination lock itself would open up, revealing a hidden base. Now obviously times have seriously changed since 2012. We're now in Minecraft 1.15. We have all sorts of different game mechanics to play around with. So I think we can do this far bigger and far better. Now I'm just thinking what the best way to do it would be. If we do it in 4 block checks, then that means that if we actually do have some form of color combination lock wrapping around like this, that means that there is 8 blocks. And then I guess it would probably have to wrap around the back as well. So that would be, is that, yeah, that's 12 blocks. So that's kind of the maximum push limit. Alright. Whereas I guess if we were to do strips, then that gives us a lot more room to do some interesting stuff. In fact, we could push all the way out to being like absolutely enormous. That could be an 8x8 piston door. And then we'd just retract everything sideways. And I guess the piston feed tapes doing the color combination locks would go vertically, and then it would start to get quite big, but it would be quite a dramatic redstone contraption. Does this mean I'm building it 8x8? I feel like this means I might be building it 8x8. Yes, having thought about it, 8x8 really is the only option. I mean, just imagine if I said in a video that I think I've come up with a way to make this 8x8, but I'm going to build it 4x4 because I can't be bothered with the 8x8 version. Imagine how disappointing that would be from a viewer's experience. No, we have to go 8x8 now. Okay, that's just how it is. So this is the panel that we've got, and oh my goodness, it's looking a little bit bigger now. I think the reality is actually setting in. But I'm hoping with the new slime block and honey block mechanics, this should actually be relatively plain sailing. Or at least it's nowhere near as complicated as building an 8x8 piston door used to be. So after sitting in silence for around about 45 minutes, getting some form of mechanism sorted, this is what I've got. So this is... It looks a little bit strange. This is very unlike conventional piston doors. If you haven't looked at piston door videos for like 2 years, then this is all going to look very, very strange to you. I'm hoping it should work first try though. Pretty good. So there's the closing. And... opening. I mean... It doesn't get much better than that, does it? Genuinely quite impressed there, right? If I get myself my kind of colourful inventory and let's just start placing in blocks on this thing, it shouldn't matter where I place blocks as long as they're in this area. So this is our colour combination lock here. And we're also going to have blocks on the back as well. I sincerely hope I've got my maths right here, okay? But hopefully this should all be able to be moved. Alright, here goes. Good. Okay, so that solid block of colour is now being shifted around. Nice. Alright, okay. Really, really good stuff. Let's build up the other half of it, so that will be the full piston door done, and then we can start getting some of the actual security in place. But before I do, I should probably actually explain a little bit as to how this works. All it is flying machines. So this thing right here is a little flying machine. This layer here has a flying machine. All of these are just separate flying machines that aren't sticking to each other thanks to honey blocks and slime blocks, and they are literally flying back and forth, transporting those 12 blocks out the front. So it's a really, really simple system. It just kind of looks a little bit complicated because they're all stacked so closely in together. Things have been built, backups have been made, let's see what happens. Nothing too dramatic should go wrong here. That scared me then. For some reason, that felt wrong. See, I knew there was something that was going to happen. It started raining. Well, it does seem to function though. And it functions well, despite the slightly shaky weather. Now, I'm thinking, for these piston feed tapes, okay, we're going to have 8 of them next to each other. So we're basically going to have 8 combination locks directly next to one another that are going to make up this door here. And the bottom is going to be, obviously, at the bottom. The top is going to be up at the top. The thing that is a bit of a problem is that, obviously, they have to be independent of one another. And that means that I have to run redstone lines to each of them. And that means that, say, for example, we have one piston feed tape down here, We then need to connect it up to the top, but we can't stay in a straight line. We'd have to go out and round. And then we're going to have to do that for all of them. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's going to become an ugly, wiry mess trying to keep everything separate. So I'm trying to think if there's a way to do this making use of smart pistons. So the bottom of the piston feed tape is the only part that actually needs timed circuitry. The rest of it is just done automatically. I mean, could this work, or could this just make a mess? I'm honestly not sure. Right, here is the system up at the top. So a block comes in and it will be cycled round like a smart piston should, and like a piston feed tape should. Down at the bottom I have this, which also does what a piston feed tape should, although I've just realized I've actually built this in the wrong place. Those pistons are totally in the wrong area. Right, after fixing that up, let's see if this actually works. I'm like 50-50 here. And go. This is actually looking good. And the reason I put the wooden button in place is because that means that I can't push it too fast. So no matter how hard I try and push this thing and make it work as fast as possible, there's no way that I can actually break it. Now, it's still not the fastest mechanism in the world, but I gotta say, I'm impressed here. This actually looks like it's functioning. And that was like, I mean, this is an incredibly simple solution to the problem that I was running into. So we don't have any ugly wires or any ugly cables going around. At the minute, this is actually quite a clean looking redstone build. Like, this is still quite nice and self-contained. We are now going to have some massive piston feed tapes underneath though. But for a redstone nerd like me, that is also still quite cool. I mean, I love the look of that sort of thing. Now, if you're wondering why I need all of these piston feed tapes, it's because right now we haven't actually built a combination lock. All we've done is built a customizable piston door. Okay, so this is just a gigantic 8x8 customizable piston door where we can change what the front and the back of the door looks like. It's cool, okay, but it doesn't really serve much of a purpose. What we need to do now is program in the actual combination part of it. So this is a hidden set of piston feed tapes which are going to store the combination for this thing right here, so the system will know when we have the correct combination and when we can actually open up the piston door. I'm looking at this design. Okay, this is where my piston feed tape was going to go. I've got a system worked out that was going to do it, but I can't help but feel like it has to go underneath like this. Just the compactor in me won't allow me to have that sticking out the front. This is much, much better. This, honestly, I feel a lot better looking at this contraption. So this is where our piston feed tape is going to go. It makes the build a tiny bit bigger, but actually this is far smaller than I was expecting it to be. And if you just watch this piston feed tape down the bottom here, you can see that it is all working. It looks a little bit strange. There's definitely some oddness going on over there, but it finishes its weirdness in time for the next button press. So you can just keep hammering this button and you're not going to run into any issues. Right, let's expand that system all the way across, and then we're like 95% of the way done. Now, the next thing that I have to work on is the correct combination detector, and that sounds really complicated, but actually I can promise you it isn't going to be that complicated. All it is just an AND gate, which is going to detect solid blocks inside this piston feed tape right here. And when there's a solid block there, that essentially means you have the correct combination for that strip. And then when all of the solid blocks line up and all of these pistons are extended, that means that you have the correct combination for the entire system, and then the door will be able to be opened. So for example, in this situation right here, we have got the combination correct apparently, and that means that our AND gate is shut off, which means that the input from our button is actually going to make it into the door mechanism and allow us to open and close our door. Cool, okay, I feel like this thing should close up automatically behind us, so I'm actually going to put some pulse extenders in place, do some bits with some dual edge monostables and everything like that, which once again sounded really complicated, but it's not. I came up with a cool life hack the other day, by the way. When you're trying to create areas of randomized blocks, the best way to do it is scroll really, really hard on your mouse wheel so that it just keeps spinning around, and then just right click, and then you're guaranteed to just get randomized blocks. Look at this, I'm a genius. I realised as I was talking that life hack was nowhere near as interesting as I kind of expected it to be. So here is our system all completed with all of the colours in place. If I try and open this thing, It doesn't open, thankfully. I got a bit scared then because I would look really silly. This is not the correct combination. Okay, so I'm now going to shift this thing over to being the correct combination by playing around with a few of the feed tapes. So we need to go across like this. Okay. And that should do it. That should be the correct combination. It's clearly a memorable one. Obviously, you'd have to have a screenshot or something like this in your screenshots folder that tells you what the combination for your door is. But now that we have the correct combination, when I hit this button right here, everything opens up, and that might just be one of the coolest things in the world. And then everything closes up behind us. And the benefit of this system is that we also have a secondary color combination on the back. So you could run some controls around and do something complicated if you really wanted to, if you wanted to shift around the combinations and things. But this is now functioning. This is all working, and now if I get the wrong combination and I change one thing and hit this button, you can see that now the door is not opening up. So our color combination lock is functioning, and we also have an 8x8 piston door. Minecraft 1.15 is awesome. Honey blocks are the best blocks of the game. The perfect end for the video, I think. Now, before we go, I thought I would actually mention, because I didn't even say this during the video, this door has a lot of combinations. In fact, it has 78,310,985,281 possible combinations. That's a lot. That would take a long time to crack. One.